Hey y'all, we're Brandon and Megan Giggling, and we give real talk and real solutions to help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Whether you are on step 1 or years into your own personal growth journey, we've got the tools you need to level up.
So if you want to stop making excuses, start taking action, and grow into the person you are meant to be, then pop in your headphones and let's do this.
You ready?
This is the Fools in Love podcast. What's up, y'all? Welcome to another week on the Fools in Love podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Brandon here. I'm going to be coming at you solo today, and I'm going to get right into it. Now, if you start talking with someone long enough, and they're willing to be vulnerable enough, you soon realize that every person walking the planet has gone through their own stuff. They have their own struggle, their own battles. Now, some of us can talk to others and feel better because there are similarities in our stories. We can relate to the trauma, we can relate to the challenges, we can even share strategies on what we did to get through it. Or other people's stories might be nothing near what we experienced, and maybe we can't relate at all. Maybe we simply can't wrap our minds around what they have been going through or what they've been struggling with. But the overarching theme here is that we all have been through the struggle. I say the struggle with quotes on my hands because even though it means something different for each of us, and we all have our own stories, we all know what the word struggle means. We've all been there, and no one can get out unscathed without going through some form of it. Now, many times, these struggles, this trauma, it can tear us down. It can cause us to want to run to a dark hole somewhere and hide. And the pain is too great to handle. It's too much to face. The worst things that happen to you, they often make you want to run from them, right? You don't want to relive that pain. You don't want to remember that hurt. And you certainly don't want to dive into that struggle again. But my friends, what if the worst things that happened to you could have been used for good? What if they prepared you for the battles that you have in the future? What if they're your armor for even more battles ahead to come? Now, don't let me lose you here. I hear your inner voice getting louder now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that those things that happen to you are good. Certainly not. But what I am saying is that they could be used for good, for your good, and for the good of others in the process. I read recently that everything that happens to you in your life can be related back to a feeling that you give it. So wait, if every experience is mapped out by the feeling that you give it, then that means that you have complete control, right? But no, that can't be right because we don't like to believe that we have any control. Everything's against us. The cards aren't stacked in our favor. We got dealt a bad hand. In our world, you hear this stuff constantly, statements just like this. You hear this stuff enough, and you know what? You start to believe it. But here's the thing, though. If you don't have the bad, how can you truly appreciate the good? If you don't have sadness, how can you truly experience pure happiness and joy? If you don't have disappointment, then how can you appreciate success? You can't, y'all. You just can't. And look, I know this is hard. I know I don't know what you've been through in your life, the things you've experienced, the tragedies, the heartache, the trauma. But how you look and frame these experiences shape you and your life now and in the future. This process might be uncomfortable. Matter of fact, it's most definitely going to get uncomfortable. Because many of us do so much to shield ourselves from the bad things, to feel secure, to feel protected. And we cling so hard to those ideals and we try to bury the bad things deep away because we don't want to relive them. But the bad things that happen to you in your life can bear you down or they can raise you up. They can build your muscles. They can build your endurance. They can build your stamina, grit, resilience, your artillery. In thinking about this topic, I thought about some of the worst things that I've personally faced in my life, and many of them kicking and screaming, to be honest, and they led me down this windy, curvy road to the place where I'm currently at. With each of these things, I could have laid down and given up. I could have been resentful. I could have played the victim. And I would have gotten nowhere. Now, this is certainly not everything bad that's happened to me, and by no means is this an exhaustive list, but here are just some of the things that come to mind that have shaped me the person I am today. And I want to share these with you not for sympathy, but to show you that the moments that you get punched in the gut and knock you down happen to all of us. And when reflected on and reframed, can be looked at not for the pain that is caused, but for the things you have learned on the other side of the struggle. Y'all, I truly believe that everything happened to you has prepared you for the battles ahead. They're your armor to take on life stronger and more resilient than ever. The first thing that comes to mind for me is when I was younger, in my high school years, my dad got sick. And when he got sick, he lost his job. And when he lost his job, my family lost money. Things got tight. Things got uncomfortable and things got hard. It was a challenge for us. A challenge that my parents dealt with very well, but it still had its effect. And the effect it's had on me to this day is I appreciate the money that I have. I use it wisely. I spend it wisely. I use it as a resource, but I keep it close and I'm smart with it because this is my helmet and my armor. It's keeping my mind sharp. It's keeping me prepared. And it taught me to appreciate what I have more, to be responsible with my money, to be responsible with my resources because you never know what's actually going to happen. The next thing that comes to mind is when Megan and I got married, we moved immediately to Texas. We had got married in December. In January, we moved down to Texas. Neither of us had a job. Neither of us had a clue, to be honest. We had family there, which was great, but everything else about it was about the worst thing that could possibly happen. Megan was working a terrible job. She was going through terrible things. I couldn't get a full-time job. Everything about the experience was bad. But the thing is, it taught us that we were strong enough to go push through. It taught us that we were able and capable to do anything. See, we had lived in our home state and left very few times in our 20 plus years of life at that point. But when we moved to Texas, as bad as it was, we found out that we were capable and strong enough to survive on the other side. And that's what gave us the courage to move to North Carolina, which is our home now. And we're not ever looking back. I count this move to Texas as my breastplate, my chest plate, because it allows me to pump my chest out and show me that I was strong enough to take it on. I think about once we moved to North Carolina, I got a job, and the job was going really well, but it was in corporate, and I don't know about y'all. I don't know your background, but I hate corporate. I just do. I'm sorry, y'all, if that's you. And everyone's got their own path. So don't get me wrong. It just wasn't for me. But while I was in this corporate job, going in day after day, doing the same thing over and over and over again, I was silently miserable, but I was making enough money to make it worthwhile for me and my family. And then out of nowhere, they did layoffs and I got fired. I got let go. Talk about a gut punch. That was the worst thing that could have happened to me in that moment. And I remember telling the person that let me go, what am I supposed to go home and tell my wife? What am I supposed to do? But y'all, I might have stayed in that job for years to come. And I might have been miserable. But in that moment, everything was taken away from me as far as career goes. And I had to go dust myself off, pick myself up, and find something new. And it led me to where I am today. And I count getting fired from that job as a shield right now in my armor. It knows that even when I'm knocked down, I have something to protect me because I can get back up and I'm capable of finding out a solution. I'm capable of finding out more of what I can do. If you've listened to our show a time or two, you know this next one. But it's one of the single worst things that happened to me. And somehow the single best thing that happened to me. Megan leaving me. Megan saying she was done. Because you know what? If she hadn't done that, I would have kept living on autopilot. Her leaving forced me to look in the mirror and figure out what I was doing to contribute to the problem and how I could show up as a better person, a better man, a better husband, a better partner. But that moment brought me down to my knees, and I went through a lot of dark months. So don't get me wrong. I know we're all going through dark things. But we would never be talking to you today on this podcast. We would never be doing any of the things we're doing right now. We would never have the life and relationship we have right now if it wasn't for that moment. If it wasn't for those dark times. If it wasn't for being brought down to my knees, I never could have stood back up firmly on my own 2 feet. I learned what I needed. I learned how to show up better. I learned how to protect myself and protect her and become a better partner and become a better man. And I count this moment as a sword in my artillery because it made our relationship stronger and me stronger as an individual and better than I ever would have been. When these things happen to us, all these things I mentioned with me, and I'm sure you thought of your own and you have your own story, our emotions can take over. They can tell us there's no way that we can possibly go on. Because I remember back in each of these moments, I thought, how are we going to get through? How am I going to see the other side of this? How could we possibly go on? But in reality, what actually happened in those moments? For me, with each of those, I think I'm still here. I was still there and I am still here. Even if I had that fear of what would happen or what could happen, and I didn't know how I was going to even get through the day, the world kept spinning. I kept breathing. And now I'm here today reflecting. In almost all cases in my life, it never turned out quite as bad as I had built up in my head. The action sequence of how it all played out didn't explode or implode like I allowed my emotions to do at the time. Look, I believe that we should feel our feelings, but we also need to understand that feelings are not facts. I talked about earlier, each situation is only guided by the feelings we give it. A death, a failure, a success, a setback. It's only defined by the meaning that we allow it to have in our lives. A meaning based on feelings that we get to control. Wow, y'all. Wow. If that doesn't put things into perspective for you, I'm not sure what will. And maybe you need to hear this today. You're in control of your life and the feelings that you have every day. Now, no one likes to believe that. No one likes to believe that because in that moment, it all comes back to us. If we're in control, then we have to be in control. And it all comes down to us. And in this world, we so easily want to pass stuff off to other people and blame them. We want to blame someone or something else for why we are where we are. Brandon, this life is screwing me over. Brandon, this person did me wrong. Why does this person over here get that and I don't? Playing the victim. And that victim mentality gets you nowhere. It's messing with your mind and it's robbing you every day of the potential that you have. We have to get rid of the victimhood. We have to understand that our pain has a purpose. And it isn't just to make us miserable, resentful, scared, worried, tired, angry, or hurt. No, our pain makes us powerful. It makes us resilient. It makes us unbreakable. What would happen if we stopped focusing on the discomfort of our life's journey and realized our roadblocks, setbacks, and missteps may have brought us to the place we're actually meant to be? What if the way we've been looking at these people, situations, and things in our lives have been all wrong? There's no denying it. That stuff was awful. It sucked. It was not what you would have chosen for your life. And I'm sure you don't want to relive it. But all of this served you. It made you ready for the battles you'll face next or the battles in the future that you have no clue what are to come. You have to stop looking at all that stuff like you failed. Stop overanalyzing it with a lens of resentment and pity and worry and whatever else. If you failed, okay. So does everyone else. If you struggle, okay. So does everyone else. Stop using all this as evidence that you're incapable of change or you're too damaged or you're too broken. Stop burying it all away. Get a rake, get a shovel, get whatever you have to and dig that up. Trudge that stuff up. Don't buy into that past conditioning of powering down or feeling weakened from all this. Use it. Power up. The truth is, all that bad stuff made you cherish the good in your life. It made you appreciate it more. It made you recognize the pain in that others are feeling and allowed you to be more compassionate to them in their struggle and allowed you to serve them better. It showed you how to be more vulnerable. And better yet, it showed you just how strong you are. I respect the things we're all dealing with. I respect that they're deep, they're unpleasant, they're uncomfortable, but I also know that they've shaped you into the person you are today. And at the end of the day, how good or bad an experience was is only defined by the meaning you're giving it. And more importantly, how much you're able to learn and change from it. I love this quote by Victor Hugo. He said, "Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise." A new day has come, my friends. A day that isn't shackled by the pain of the past, but rather empowered by your experiences, lifted up by your strength, knocked down, but not knocked out. You can stand up again and again and again. You are worthy. You have the power in your hands. You have been prepared, shaped, molded for this time, and the time is limited, y'all. Your clock is ticking. Look all around you at the people of this world. They're young, they grow up, they get old, they have diseases, they have tragedy, and they're gone. Never forget your clock is constantly ticking. And I don't say that to scare you. I say that to wake you up to the reality that nothing is guaranteed. And that includes how long you have left. You have to make a choice. You have to wake up. Open your eyes and see the precious time ahead and use it. Because none of us know what tomorrow will bring. We only have today. We have this moment. So what's it going to be? Do you want to be broken, angry, miserable, bitter, defeated? Or do you want to be strong, unbreakable, powerful, capable, and ready for battle? I hope this next part carries you through this week, this month, this year, and I hope it acts as a battle cry for your life. What do you do when the battle comes? You don't know when or where or what direction it's coming from, but you know it's out there. Somewhere in the future, in the darkness, you can visualize it and what you will say when it comes. Well, I say, bring it on. Here I am. Come and get me. I've been training for this day, and I may not have known what was coming, but I have been preparing for this battle. Bring it on. Put on that helmet. Come on. Strap on that breastplate and shin guards. Pick up that sword. Grab that shield and raise it up. Let's go. Bang on that shield. Bang, bang, bang. Let that past stuff know it has no control over you anymore. You will rise to the occasion. You will take on the battles head on because the world has shaped and molded you for this moment. This is your time. This is your chance. Dig in those heels. Stand firmly on your own 2 feet. Live like you know that clock is ticking, and more importantly, live like you mean it, y'all. You are ready. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're not. You have been through it. You have the scars to prove it. Now use those scars to propel you forward to the future beyond belief, and always remember, you are more powerful. You are more than enough. You have it in you. Do you hear it calling to you deep within your bones, the power to show up uniquely as you? You. There's no one like you. You, who has been through the trials of this world and come out on the other side stronger than ever. You who are beautiful and capable and loved and amazing. Everything prepares you for this moment. Don't ever forget it.